We want to welcome you to the Senate Rules Committee. It is Wednesday, June 17th. It is approximately 1:33 p.m. Colleagues, why don't we start by establishing a quorum. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Cannella, Leyva, Leyva here, Mitchell, Fuller, Fuller here, DeLeon,
Here.
DeLeon here.
Okay, we've established a quorum. Let's go to file item number 1. That is the references of bills to the respective policy committees. Can I get a motion? We have a motion that has been made by Ms. Leyva. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Cannella, Leyva, Leyva aye, Mitchell, Fuller, Fuller aye, DeLeon,
Aye.
DeLeon aye.
Okay, 3-0, it passes. However, we will leave the roll open so other members can add on. Let's go to file item number 2. We have 3 members that are appointments of the governor that are required to appear. That is Mr. Gregory, I hope I pronounce this correctly, Aaron, Mark Andre, as well as Michael Miles. Why don't we take Mr. Aaron up first, if I hope I pronounced it correctly?
Very close.
Very close?
Ahern.
Aaron, okay.
From Ireland, they say Ahern. So
Ahern, okay.
close to it.
Okay. You're before us as a member of the California State Lottery Commission. Welcome. Before you begin your introduction, if there's anyone you'd like to introduce, please do so. If not, you can cut to the chase.
I'm ready to go.
Okay, let's go.
All right. And is my volume okay for you? And if you let me know if I'm speaking too fast, all right? Well, thank you very much for having us. Being a part of the lottery is a very special time for me. I've been a very strong support of education. I think education is a direct relation to public protection, and that better the education, the lower the crime rate in many of the areas. And I think that the state lottery has been a great partner in assisting California education to improve the education of all of our students, which I think in turn improves the public protection in all of our communities.
Oh, that's your presentation.
Well, I was under the impression you were going to ask me several questions. I'll be glad
No,
to.
okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. No, that's perfectly fine. You actually literally took what I've always said to all our witnesses to heart, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. With that, why don't we open it to any questions from the members of the Rules Committee? Not to sort of take you off your game. You just took me off mine. That's all it was, which is fine. Ms. Leyva.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I too agree that education helps people keep people off the street and out of our prisons. And I think it's very interesting what you do in your day job, and then also being on the Lottery Commission. The question I had is about lottery sales and Powerball. Are we still doing that in California? Are we going to continue to do that in California?
Yes, we've been a member of Powerball for a few years now. I was one of the commissioners that voted in support of the Powerball. I think it's a great opportunity to have large jackpot games that people in California can take a part in. And the marketing program is more of the thrill of hope of winning. Rather than the thrill of winning, so that you get to, just for a few days, imagine what it would be like to have that type of money in your income. And so the hope of it all is very exciting, and I believe it's added to the overall revenue for the lottery.
Excellent. One other question is the play at the pump. I know that's been tested, but it's not completely, the program isn't completely in place. Is that right?
Correct. We have 2 test areas, one down south in the Los Angeles area and another in the Sacramento area. They're up to about 50 test sites for play at the pump, and it's being closely watched and examined and doing very well right now.
Good. And how do we keep minors from participating?
That's an excellent question. The way they're keeping minors away from participating in play at the pump is registration with a driver's license and a credit card. And the credit card and driver's license match, and they are the ones that registered, and only that credit card is allowed to play at the pump. And there's also a $50 limit on play at the pump per week, so that it's monitored and watched in that capacity as well.
Good, that sounds great. Thank you very much, Mr. Ahern.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Leyva. Madam Vice Chair.
Well, thank you for those questions, and they were sort of the same ones I'm going to do, so I'll just add on one more nuance to that. Under the Level 4 certification and as a socially responsible gambling organization, does the lottery have protections in place to ensure that state-issued welfare benefit debit cards aren't used to purchase lottery games at self-service pumps?
Yes, it's only utilized off of the credit card, and you have to register, as I said before. So that card is the only one registered to be allowed to play at the pump.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Madam Mitchell? No? Okay. Mr. Canella? Seeing none, fantastic. Those in support of today's nominee? I'm seeing none. Those in opposition? Also seeing no opposition. Can I get a motion? We have a motion made by Ms. Fuller. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
Is this the support? Aye.
Canella, aye. Leyva?
Now, you can oppose if you'd like to.
Leyva,
It's
aye.
whatever you'd like to do.
Mitchell? Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Okay, fantastic. I will congratulate you. You pass on a 5-0 vote. Your nomination will go to the Senate floor. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that support and the applause.
Let's go. So we're going to bring up our next two nominees before us. They're both members of the State Board of Forestry and Fire Protection. That's Mr. Mark Andre, as well as Mr. Michael Miles Jr. Please, if there's anyone in the audience that you'd like to present, please do so. If not, go ahead and make a brief presentation. Welcome to both.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman and committee members. Mark Andre. Thank you. Yes, I've had the privilege and honor of serving on the Board of Forestry and Fire Protection for the past 5 years, originally appointed by Governor Schwarzenegger and retained on the board by current governor. I live in Humboldt County. I'm the Environmental Services Director for the city of Arcata. Been there quite a while, so I work in local government. I'm also a professional forester, and I have worked all over the state in terms of the forest types of California. I have a real familiarity with Southern California, east side of the Sierra, and Northern California. I grew up in San Diego. I think what I've enjoyed is finding common ground, on complex issues and moving things forward, And I think some of my strengths are the ability to work with diverse stakeholders and informing policy and regulations in the forestry realm in California. So I would be happy to continue in that role. I do live in the Redwood region of Humboldt County, and where it's not as critical of an issue, but statewide with the drought, longer fire seasons, and the cost for fire suppression, that's a big issue for us on the board to try to come up with solutions that lead to more efficiencies and dealing with the challenges of fire in California and climate change. I'm also, as a board member, part of the Forest Climate Action Team, dealing with helping develop the statewide forest carbon plan, which is an important document for guiding future investments and future priorities in that realm as well. So briefly, I've worked also in the past or served on boards for NGOs such as land trusts and environmental organizations, and am a registered professional forester, and have worked with mostly non-industrial, small non-industrial landowners, and with the city of Arcata, a unique community forest, which is one of the only ones in the West, community-based forestry managed for recreation, watershed, wildlife, and revenue. It generates about $400,000 a year for the small town as a working forest, a model forest. So that's where I spend most of my time during the day, is the forester and environmental services director for a city.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Miles.
Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mike Miles. I'm a registered professional forester also. I have 25 years of experience. The first 10 years were as a consulting forester, during which time I worked on public lands, non-industrial lands, and industrial timberlands. And then since 2001, I have been employed by industrial timberland owners in coastal redwood forest up in Humboldt County, and then more recently Humboldt and Mendocino Redwood County, where I worked as a compliance operational forester, a area manager, a watershed analysis manager, and most recently the director of forest science for Humboldt and Mendocino Redwood Company. And so I've been on the board now for 4 years, appointed by Governor Brown 4 years ago. It's been a good experience, learning experience, and I was asked if I'd like to continue, and I said yes, I would. And so I guess my goals, generally speaking, are that Board of Forestry is a big part of policies and regulations that are scientifically sound, that are pragmatic, they're effective, but they're also efficient. You who work in regulation and legislation can know things can get quite crazy if we don't take our time and try to make meaningful regulation and policy that looks at all the different angles. I think one of the big things that the board does, the board provides an opportunity, a forum for public conversations from multiple stakeholders, environmental groups, as well as various agencies that are involved in forest management, which there are quite a few of, as well as timberland owners themselves. And so probably the third goal that I think is kind of that we've been working on recently, and I think we've done a good job of, is working closely with legislators, so that when we get stuff that we have to implement, we've had some communication beforehand a little bit, so that we can get that into working regulation efficiently and appropriately. And I'd like to continue that. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miles. Questions, commentaries from the members? Ms. Mitchell, no questions right now. Mr. Cannella.
We had a discussion yesterday, and I very much enjoyed it. You guys are obviously qualified professionally for this committee or commission. But I want to talk a little bit about the SRA. So that brings a lot of angst to a lot of folks that this fee was passed. And so, I think the legislature passed it. Did you two have any involvement in any of that? Were you, lobbying on behalf of the SRA? Did you have any say in the SRA? Was there any involvement at all?
Not at that point, not until it came to our board.
So the legislature passed it, right? Yes. So now it's given to you to implement. So what were your options? Could you have said, we so much do not believe in this that we are not going to implement the fee? I mean, really, would that be possible for you to do that?
That would be highly unusual.
Highly unusual, okay.
Yes.
So really, it's brought to you, and you could have charged the entire $150, right? You could have said, look, that's the fee, that's the limit the legislature gave us. We're going to use that limit, but you didn't do that, right? Talk to me a little bit about what you did to reduce the fee.
Yeah. We looked at this as an emergency regulation, turning the legislation into rule, and had to look at things like the exemptions or the process for the definitions of habitable structure. Those were the parameters. But it was Member Miles and myself who he made the motion. I seconded it for a fee reduction for parcels with habitable structures that were located in an existing local fire district.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so you actually motioned and seconded and voted, and I'm assuming it passed, to reduce the fee from $150 to $130. What was the new fee? $135?
$115.
To $115.
It was a $35
reduced by
reduction.
$35. Yeah. To lower the fee on folks who have fire protection. They already have some, because that was always an issue for me, quite frankly, was these folks that already are in fire departments, they're paying an assessment, they're paying property taxes. Now they have this additional fee. And you also apparently thought that was not equitable, so you guys moved to lower the fee down for those folks that already had some level of protection.
That's correct. We'd received a lot of public comment on we're paying an assessment for a local district, and so we took that into consideration.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cannella. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. We had that same discussion, as there is a lot of angst in our caucus about the SRA, and we discussed that obviously that wasn't you, that was the legislature. But I did ask you to put together some talking points for me that basically would show how your actions in regards to the reducing the fee, as you told me, were carried out, and that I would then be able to win more votes on the floor for you if that were the case. And I appreciate the talking points that you gave me this morning, but I have to say that I was particularly disappointed that talking points did not deal with that point at all. The information concerning the voting on the fee and your proposed amendments were not in the document. And so we thought we would help out by searching the web for the minutes, because certainly it would be in the minutes. And while we found several sets of minutes, we didn't find any of the 4 sets of minutes that covered those meetings and that would have documented that we could have used, even though by now it was almost this particular time. And when I searched further, my staff found that they had actually asked for those minutes to be posted on the website 3 years ago. They still haven't been posted nor brought forward. Nor do we have them still, even though we called the executive director. So I appreciate your work on the board. You are obviously doing a lot of work, and people appreciate you. But I won't be supporting you today based on that. I thought I made it really clear that I needed some evidence to share in order to support this appointment. And it's not so much about you, but about the actions that you described to me that I needed to document. And perhaps it's not your fault, but we did ask for them 3 years ago, and they're still not there, and we still don't have them. So thank you for appearing before us today. Thank you for your work. But I won't be supporting the vote at this time.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. Ms. Leyva.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Gentlemen, first let me thank you for your previous service, and thank you for your willingness to serve again. I just have one question. You can either both answer it or one of you. We are in a historic drought. How is that changing the recommendations of the board and how you're doing things? Have you had to change the way you operate? Just curious.
Take that one.
Yeah, there was a recent thing just this morning. I'll let you.
Yeah. So we are changing the way that we're operating, in that we've just recently accomplished a series or 2 emergency drought-related regulations. One of them was implementation of AB 1867, which was required by statute to go into effect January 1st, 2016. The board, with some consultation with CAL FIRE, said we need this rule now. And so that provides the landowner an exemption opportunity to protect their structure out to 300 feet. That was very important. That will be an opportunity that a landowner can apply this month in June. Then the meeting right prior to we showing up here, we just took another emergency action for drought-related die-off that you're seeing in parts of the state, particularly the Sierra Nevada, as well as San Diego and Southern California. And there we're allowing trees that are dying or dead, and that will quickly come about and result in an increased fire risk, that you will have an exemption that allows you to remove those trees and treat that fire risk. I think those actions, in combination with the body of work, if you go through the forest regulations, climate change and drought is not a new discovery. So there's been several things done over the last 3 or 4 years that provide for opportunities for landowners to take this head on.
Very good. Thank you. Did you want to add?
I just wanted to add, there are some great studies out there. We were just talking about them the other day, that we'd like to invite some of the scientists to present to the board in a public forum, the water yield benefits, the co-benefits of some of the thinnings of dense forest stands, in addition to the resiliency on the forests for climate change and fire and fuel reduction. There's that water yield side of the equation that we hope to at the board this year emphasize that because it's a benefit of some of these investments with either SRA grants on the ground work for thinning and fuel reduction, or some of the cap and trade funding for creating forests that are more resilient to stress and drought and climate change and fire.
Very good. Thank you both.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leyva. Any folks in support of the two nominees that are before us? Any folks in support? Seeing none. Those in opposition? Seeing no opposition, I don't think there are any further comments or questions from the members. Can I get a motion? We have a motion. It's been made by Ms. Fuller. We're going to bring up Senator.
Leyva.
Well, okay. You can still make a motion, technically speaking. You can still.
Right.
It's a friendly gesture to make the motion, even though she's not going to be supportive of you. So it's a kind no, you know. So with that, we do have a motion. Let's move forward. Let's bring up Mr. Andre. Those in, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Mr. Andre.
Senators Canella?
Aye.
Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? No. Fuller, no. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Mr. Andre passes on a 4-to-1 vote. Let's go to Mr. Miles. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
Aye.
Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? No. Fuller, no. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Mr. Miles passes on a 4-to-1 vote as well. Congratulations to both. Your nominations will be heard on the Senate floor. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Didn't want to separate
Yes. Let's go to file item number 1. So let's lift the call on file item number 1. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On the reference of bills, Senators Canella?
Aye.
Canella, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye.
Okay, passes on a 5-to-0 vote. Let's go to number 3, which are the governor's appointments that are not required to appear. We're at file item number 3, colleagues. We're going to do D, E, G, H, and I. Now, again, let me repeat one more time. File item number 3, D, E, G, H, and I. Can I get a motion? We have a motion made by Ms. Leyva. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
Aye.
Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
These appointments pass on a 5-to-0 vote. We're going to stay with number 3. We're going to go to number 3F. That is Celia McGinnis. 3F. Can I get a motion? A motion made by Ms. Leyva. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
No.
Canella, no. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? No. Fuller, no. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
This motion passes on a 3-to-2 vote. Let's go to file item number 4. That is removing Senator Bates as a member of the Select Committee on the Refugio oil spill, which will leave another vacancy. Before we go to file item number 4, I just want to check with my colleagues. She does want to be removed.
I have a letter here, yeah.
Okay. So okay, all right, okay. So I wanted to make sure she's happy. She doesn't want to stay. Okay, she wants to go. Okay, that's fine. File item number 4. Can I get a motion? Motion by Ms. Leyva. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
Aye.
Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Okay, file item number passes on a 5-to-0 vote. We'll go to floor acknowledgements, number 5 through number 11. 5 through 11. Can we get a motion? Motion made by Ms. Leyva. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
Aye.
Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
This motion passes on a 5-to-0 vote. That is what we have for regular order. We will go into executive session.